and welcome back to the Youngstown Penguin Football Podcast. I'm your host, Sal Guardo. With me, as always, is former defensive lineman Kyle Searle, former quarterback Kurt Hess, and unfortunately, Dan Kopp is out tonight. Luckily, we have a guest co-host filling in that we will introduce later. However, we need to recap the loss that was not friendly to us as the Penguins went down 34-0 to the number one defending champs, the South Dakota State Jackrabbits, 34-0. First quarter started very slow as South Dakota State milked the clock and ended up kicking a 33-yard field goal, making it 3-0 to end the first quarter. Second quarter, the Jackrabbits threw a 5-yard touchdown pass, making it 10-0, then a 16-yard touchdown pass, making it 17-0. However, the Penguins respond as we have a wide open receiver in the end zone for a touchdown that is blown dead. To review, a targeting on the previous play that was not a targeting after all. It concludes in a Youngstown State missed opportunity field goal mishap that turned the momentum back to the Jackrabbits, and they kick a field goal, 43-yard field goal before halftime to take it 20-0 before halftime. On the opening play of the second half, the Jackrabbits throw a 56-yard pass, making it 27-0. And at that point, it might have well been over, and the Jackrabbits will score one more touchdown in the fourth quarter, making it 34-0. And unfortunately, that's how the game went. We will definitely unpack and review this in a little more detail and a little more opinion. But first, I'm going to turn over to Searle to introduce officially our co-host guest for tonight. Go ahead, Searle.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Sal. With us tonight, we got one of my all-time favorite teammates, someone that I spent a lot of time with on the practice field, in the film room with, busting each other's balls, just getting after each other in practice and getting better. Austin Town's finest, started with the program as a walk-on, earned his scholarship, and is a true definition of what it is to be part of Grit U. We all love him. DJ Moss. So doing big things with his life now. DJ, why don't you just tell us and the viewers what you're getting into now?
Yeah, so right now, thanks, Kyle. Right now, I am working for the Shelley Company. I sell asphalt and aggregates. We have 9 asphalt plants in Northeast Ohio, 6 limestone yards, and 4 gravel yards. So I'm selling to paving companies, excavation companies, pretty busy, selling ODOT work for state of Ohio. And the season's coming to an end now. So it's kind of been a crazy push here. Outside of that, I wanted to shout out Christian Bryan. Him and I got a little thing going right now with Strong Arm. It stands for Athletes Recovery and Mental Health. We both help people out that are struggling, whether it's with addiction, alcoholism, depression, anything mental health. We just wanted to let people know we're an outlet. If anyone's struggling, please reach out to Christian or I. We'd love to talk to you, help you out, and just wanted to say, I love what you guys are doing. Love what Matt Hogg's doing with alumni. We had a great weekend over the weekend for the South Dakota State game. He's bringing a lot of people together, trying to grow this alumni group. So I think that's really good. Met a ton of good people over the weekend. Sal, I don't know if you heard, but you have a new executive producer, Jeff Ryan.
Jeff Ryan, yes, sir.
We're back here at Youngstown State. He's absolutely electric. We got to get him on the show. But listen, it's great to be here. Love what you guys are doing, and I'm happy to be a part of it. So,
yeah, thanks for joining us, Moss. And to touch on, we got to get Matt Hogg on the show to kind of promote this alumni outreach thing and get all the generations together and continue to grow that thing, because there was guys that I met today that if looking at them, I'd have no idea who they were, but definitely have heard their names throughout the stadium over the years. So definitely really cool and awesome to see what he's doing.
A couple things on that note, Cyril, you're right. Any or you see, tell them the message Kurt has on our Instagram page, Whitetown Penguin Podcast. And we'd love to get everyone on the show. Mosh, real quick on the mental health program you mentioned. How you have an Instagram page or an email address that anyone could reach out to?
Yeah, we have a Strong Arm Recovery Instagram page. It should be at Strong Arm. Or you could look me up, D_Mo98 on IG. It's in my bio there. Just reach out to Christian or I. A message to us. We can get you all the info. We do meetings Wednesday nights virtual, 7:30 to 8:30. You don't have to stay the whole time. Some nights we don't even meet. Some Wednesdays we don't even meet. We're real flexible. So
there it is.
Thanks, Kyle.
There you go, Cyril. And
Strong
again,
Arm
Moss
Recovery
is from
Service.
He's from Austin Town, home of the Kinnecks, the Kabakis, and I believe Mr. Ron Strollo, right?
Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah. Ron Strollo.
Strollo's a Falcon.
The English twins. Mike.
Yeah.
We had a big Fitch pitcher over the weekend. There's a lot of good Falcons that have, came to YSU and were really successful. Really, kind of set the footprint for us. I mean, they have rings to show it, and it's awesome that they're from Fitch. And it's kind of. Go ahead, Kurt. Sorry,
dude. No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like I was so happy, like specifically like Jeff Ryan and Matt Hogg, just putting a name to a face, man. Because we aren't too old. We're somewhat recent, playing in 2010 to 2013, but you see pictures, you see names, you see numbers and everything. Football's kind of like a little bit more private like that because you have helmets on and stuff. But seeing these guys, meeting them, hearing their stories, and putting a name to a face, it was like. How come while we were playing, we never had the opportunity to really shake hands with those guys and see those guys like we did, this past weekend? And that's really what I know Matt Hogg is trying to do. And from a social media perspective, that's what we're trying to do, is give those guys this platform to personalize the alumni, platform out there at YSU.
Yeah, absolutely. And Curdy, on a negative note, we're going to put it back to you. I don't know how you're going to do this, but you got to give us your thoughts on the offense, the quarterback play on that South Dakota State game. You kicked it off, brother.
So, yeah, I mean, honestly, after the tailgate, we didn't see many positives, and that's really hard to say because I know that there was a lot of hype. There was a lot of built up to this game. And after having a few days to process it, man, I can go through the stats like we normally do, but just not a ton of bright spots. In my opinion, and you guys feel free to chime in, like there's two things that make a good football team. Do you have the dudes, and can you execute? And take all the complications, the motions, the shifts, the this and the that, and the play calling. Do you have the guys, and do you execute? South Dakota State has and does both very, very well. We could have played a near perfect game, and it probably would have been really tight. I do think that targeting call plays a lot into it because it would have been 17-7 going into half versus 20-0. And then they come out, hit a big play. It's 27-0. So that's a huge point swing right there. That's, 10 points, potentially 17 points if you talk about a little bit of momentum. But hats off to South Dakota State, man. Their defense is really good. I was talking to a close source of the program who I messaged a little bit with today. I don't think those guys missed a tackle defensively. Coming down to it, they do the little things very, very, very well. And I have a huge admiration for Nick Saban in Alabama. They do a couple things on defense, and they do it fast and really well. And, I mean, at the FCS level, that's an Alabama-style defense. So hats off to them. Had a couple opportunities at big plays, but I don't even want to get into the stats, guys, because there's not many bright spots.
Well, Kurt, on this show, when we talk about Alabama, we only talk about their offensive line. That's all that matters to us.
Shout out Jorge and Coach Wolfie, huh?
No, leave Jorge off the show.
No, Jorge deserves it.
He's a big supporter. Cyril, thoughts on the defense?
Yeah, before I get into the defense, I just wanted to touch on that touchdown that was called back. that would absolutely one of those moments in the game where you're like, WTF. And not only because that was, I think, the first point in the game where the Penguins actually started to move the ball. And they were in a hurry up offense and moving the ball really, really nicely. And it's not that the play got blown dead, it was when the play was blown dead. If you wanted to blow the play dead before, it even gets started and review the previous play, that's fine. But the ball was hiked. Mitch had taken his full drop back, and the ball was in the air beyond the line of scrimmage when they blew that play dead. And that is what bothers me about it. And not only did you just waste enough time and not throw a South Dakota State player out for targeting, is you killed the hurry up momentum of our offense, which really just, I think, ultimately hurt on that series. But if you guys know me and have talked to me after this game, you know that I was not pleasant, and I did not take this loss easy at all. Defense was not great, and it's a national championship caliber offense, and it's a national championship caliber defense. It was a team that was damn near perfect last year and returned 19 starters. So, with that being said, is all I'm going to say is it wasn't good enough, and there's got to be some soul searching after this loss, and if we get in the playoffs, and we'll get into that more. This has to be a moment to where we look back and say that's never going to happen again, because that's not Penguin football, and that's not what we've seen from this team at all this season. So, one thing I'll say is it's kind of weird is I've been harping on the team for penalties for weeks and weeks, and we only had 4 penalties, and I think it only equaled around
25 yards.
25 yards, 26 yards, something like that. South Dakota State had 12 penalties for almost 120 yards. And that right there is an anomaly. And so one thing I just do want to say to the guys is, and not all the penalties were defensive, is like, you played a clean game, but like the results didn't come, and that's frustrating. We're better than that, and we have to understand and know and believe that. And I think our guys do. I think if we play that game 10 times, I don't think we don't get blanked like that 10 times. So it's frustrating. We got to wipe it off and move on and handle this week.
Mossman, thoughts overall?
Well, I listened to last week's show, and a couple things you guys mentioned were time of possession and being able to run the football, controlling the line of scrimmage, right? We had 25 rushes, and we averaged 1.9 yards a clip. So we had 25 attempts, and we only, 40 yards rushing. And they had 29 rushes and averaged 5.7 a clip. They had 29 attempts for 166 yards. I mean, we lost the game up front. On third down, we were 18%, 2 of 11. And they were 46%, 6 of 13, which they probably even want to be better than that. If they're going to, they want to be as good as they're going to be, which they're going to probably have a good chance at winning another one this year. They were 1 of 1 on fourth down, and we were 0 for 2. I just think I want to challenge the offensive and defensive lines in the wintertime. Just, keep working. We were in this position when we were seniors. We had a rough one against South Dakota State that kept us out. I mean, it hurt, right? So, I challenge those O&D lines to just keep working hard. And I know we're better than this. It's a rough loss. It's a rough one, guys. So,
hey, Moss, not only did we have there's some parallels. Not only did we have a rough loss to South Dakota State our junior year, we had a close loss to Northern Iowa.
Oh yeah.
And we were hanging with North Dakota State pretty tough for a little bit there. The score kind of didn't dictate how well I think we played without our starting quarterback that game, but
Go Bison.
couple parallels there. You know, close loss to UNI, rough loss to South Dakota State, missing the playoffs by one game. Hopefully, this team doesn't experience what we did our senior year.
Right.
Well, the only thing I had to recap the game, and I'll leave it open, but hopefully we could put this behind us. Moss, you sort of mentioned it when you said, one of the keys is time to possession. I feel like they came out ready to beat us at our own game plan, and we've owned the time of possession the entire season. That's been our thing. And just that first quarter, that first drive, you can tell that they were going to run the clock, score, and force us into that hurry up mode, which almost was to our advantage. As Cyril said, when we went into that hurry up mode and we got called back right before halftime on that non-targeting call, was the only life that you saw of the offense. So it was almost to our favor that they put us in that mode. But that entire first half, I feel like we never had the football, and it just tired our defense out. You saw our defense get tired, and they just came out with a better game plan than us. I hate to say we were both outplayed and outcoached, but that's how it felt. That's how it felt that day. Anything else, or are y'all ready to leave this behind?
Yeah, so I mean, as an extension for what you said defensively, and thankfully this senior class and this team has one more opportunity to go out there and show what they can do. I know all of us right here playing that year where we finished up with South Dakota State, we would have loved one more game, win or loss, like lace it back up. But that happens with the offense too. I remember I looked over at Cyril. We were up in the boxes, and it was like we got 3 and out. They went down for a 10-12 play drive. Maybe went 3 and out again, maybe got one first down. They went down for another 8 or 10 play drive. And we looked at each other with maybe a minute left in the first quarter or early in the second. We were like, dude, this is a massive possession right now, because just by play wise, our defense probably played 20, 25 plays,
Right.
and our offense maybe had 6 or 7. And it's the third possession of the game. And the Jackrabbits are already like, listen, it's now or never. This thing's going to get ugly. And I mean, that's when we scored in that targeting call, which was completely mishandled by the officiating. I think the university sent that thing in. So I'd love to see the response on that. But
Yeah,
they put a stranglehold on you early, and then they start to get you pressing. And that's a dangerous team.
Oh, yeah. And Sal, if I could touch on 2 more things here. I've never seen an FCS team run off 6 guys. They ran off 2 safeties and 4 defense.
Yeah.
So they were like, and I was just talking to Christian before this call. He's like, they were literally, it was like hockey shift. They were running 6 guys off, the 2 safeties and the 4 D linemen, and running 6 on. And then I would say, something that I seen that I really loved was early in the first quarter, we had 81 wide open. I don't know if you guys remember that. Mitch missed a throw. Like, I mean, Jay got a really young receiver room. We lose Bryce Oliver. But man, he's got some good looking receivers, and I think they could build on it. I've been really impressed with the receiver group.
Yeah.
I mean, hats off to JB. I think he's doing a great job.
You guys ready to lock it up?
Lock it up.
Let's bury this one 10 feet under and never talk about it again. Let's get out of this. Curdy, back over to you. I didn't even get a chance to ask you before the show. You have any Instagram or Penguins in the NFL segment?
Yeah, another. We all saw him. I think Jaleel played. What was that, Monday night? Broncos were going against the Bills. They got another big win against the Bills. Bills kind of self-imploded there at the end. But he's definitely got his role still. We talk every week about him having a role. Had an opportunity at some bigger plays. Just didn't have a ton of holes for him. Only IG segment that I got was some feedback that is definitely interesting and probably more of an off-season topic for us. Probably hits home with a lot of us guys, but I am not meaning this in any way to be offensive or demeaning towards the guys that we have, but a lot of feedback is, do we stop recruiting Florida so hard? I don't know what our Florida roster looks like, but it comes cold. It comes November, and every man on that roster, I think Coach Phillips has done a great job with the culture. I am not demeaning where you are from, but just a lot of feedback saying, hey, when things get cold, the Penguins seem to get cold too, and I hate that narrative, but do we stop recruiting Florida and do we start recruiting the
I think
Midwest? I think that's maybe a segment for another time.
Hey, what did I say? I said go recruit where the champs recruit. Go recruit the Dakotas. Get us some big boys.
God,
go get them.
November makes the boys out of men is what it is. It's a long season, and the best prepared, most depth teams win in November. You got to be deep to go through November. And you remember us with Wolf. I mean, I feel like we ran the table up till November. I don't know if Wolf won in November when I was there.
No, we lost every game in October.
Oh, was it October?
Yeah, we won out in November.
Well, anyway, interesting thought. Oh, and on that Denver game, I know the Bills fired their offensive coordinator after that, which is interesting.
You, right?
And Dorsey. Yep.
You.
Oh, was it Ken Dorsey?
It was Ken Dorsey.
I didn't realize that. And now they have your boy.
What's wild is
Brady's
from
the
LSU.
OC now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Joe Brady, your LSU, the old OC that brought Burrow to life.
Hey.
Imagine getting fired after scoring what they score 31 points, 30 some points in an NFL game. They have the number one offense in terms of offensive efficiency per play, a couple other top 5 statistics in offense, and you lose on a last-second field goal because of missed interception or whatever the case may have been, and you fire your OC for it.
That's weird.
I think he got a raw deal, but
that's weird.
Conversation for another day.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the week that was last week. Recapping, just so you guys know, I did win last week, and Kurt, just so you know, that puts me at 3 wins overall. You're sitting at 4. I actually think Moss may actually be up there with us, but with 1 week left, I could still catch you. But recapping,
how'd you go from 1 to 3? How'd you go from 1 to 3?
I didn't update the stats from last week.
It was Florida. It was Florida math. Florida Jesuit school math.
Jiminy Christmas.
Murray State at Illinois State. Illinois State wins and covers 44-7. South Dakota State at Youngstown State, unfortunately, wins and covers 34-0. Western Ill at Indiana State. Indiana State wins and covers 27-6. North Dakota at South Dakota. South Dakota wins but does not cover 14-10. Northern Iowa is upset at Missouri State. They lose 35-16 as Missouri State beats the Panthers. The Southern Illinois Salukis at North Dakota State. North Dakota State dominates 34-10 over the Salukis. And then our one game that we picked out for the week, Holy Cross, was a favorite at Army. Army wins the money line 17-14. That basically wraps up. I don't know if you guys want to recap or get into any of those games or any other games from last weekend before we leave last weekend behind us.
Northern Iowa is so strange. They're so strange.
They can't play on the road.
Are they at home this week against the Bison?
Yep, at the Unidome.
I'm going to pick the Bison and watch you and I win.
I think you and I, they don't lose at home. I don't know why. It's strange.
Insane.
Anyway.
It's that Velcro.
Well, the reason we're going to dive right into the next week's game is because we want to leave enough time at the end of the show to talk about playoffs. Penguins are at Murray State 2 p.m. Saturday on ESPN Plus for those of you who are not local. Just recapping what Murray State has done this year so far. They have 2 wins on the season. The first one was Presbyterian, 41-10. Lost to Louisville, lost to Middle Tennessee State, beat Indiana State 30-28, blown out to South Dakota, blown out to Southern Ill, lost to Missouri State in a close one, 28-24, blown out to North Dakota State. The North Dakota score was 45-31, and then blown out to Illinois State 44-7. just some quick notes I had on Murray State. The Penguins actually do have some history against them. I did not know this. Youngstown State is actually 2-6 all time against Murray State with only 2 wins. 5 of those 6 losses were against, as a fun fact of the day, were against Hall of Fame coach Frank Beamer and his Hall of Fame assistant Bud Foster were over on the Murray State sidelines. Bud was either the linebacker and Beamer was either the defensive coordinator or the head coach during that era. In 1986, that was Trussell's first season with the Penguins. So Trussell was on one sideline being a Hall of Famer for the Penguins, and Frank Beamer was on the Murray State sideline. So they actually went against each other. Those that at that game probably had no idea they had Hall of Fame coaches on each sideline. That was the last time Murray State beat the Penguins was with Frank Beamer. The next year, Beamer left to Virginia Tech. And Trussell took over, and they played the next year at Youngstown State, and Youngstown won in overtime 20-13, which is the last time they played. And just another shout out to Youngstown State is Justin Fuente is the Murray State Hall of Fame quarterback also. So a lot of Hokies coming out of Murray State. Scouting report, I'm going to kick it back over to you, Curdy, for a good scouting report on these Murray State. I believe they are the Racers.
I think it's really awesome that we keep throwing in Virginia Tech. I think that's really relevant to everything.
Hey, whose Hall of Fame are these coaches in? Sal's or what?
Yeah. Does anybody in our audience know who Justin Fuente is?
He was a
I got
big
some
deal at one
Fuente
time.
cigars in my case right now.
Fuente's a cigar to all of us. He's not a football
Right.
coach. Yeah, so looking at Murray State, I tried to just look at the conference games. I know that they played 2 FBS games, right? Middle Tennessee and Louisville. So obviously they're doing a lot to get their program kind of kicked off in the right direction financially. Other than that, man, there's not a lot to say about this defense. It's interesting to me that they're playing a lot of their seniors, but then I also see a lot of redshirt freshmen with a lot of playing time. So it seems like they're trying to get that program started and turning it over a little bit. One guy, I think I saw Ryan, I'm going to mispronounce his name. Ryan Batch is a 4-season guy at Ohio State. He transferred in, playing 1 extra season. He's not getting a lot of playing time. So, I don't know if it's something where he's just not good or, you take a 4-year Ohio State transfer, but you're trying to build a program. You're probably playing a younger guy over somebody like him. They got another guy, Kenyon Walker, number 34, a Tulane transfer, redshirt freshman. Caldra Wilford is his name. Dude was actually a 3-star safety, and he was a top 100 nationally. Redshirt freshman, he's playing right now. Another redshirt freshman, I think Malachi Williams is his name, number 39. They're kind of top to bottom, a little bit of everything. They're giving up a lot of points. I know the 3 games that I kind of looked at, they had 44 points to Ill State, 45 to North Dakota, and then 38 points to the Bison. They're giving up a ton of points. They're very balanced defensively because they give up about 220 rushing, give up about 220 passing. So that's right in our avenue. I really think that we can expose this defense. I don't think that they know what they're doing or who their personnel truly is, but they have the opportunity, just like we do, to end the season on a high note, whether that be us going to the playoffs or not. It always will feel better, and coaches believe it, and they push it on that last game of the season for this team who's won 2 games. You have an opportunity to go in the offseason feeling really good about yourself, and I know the coaches are going to push like hell. I know their defense is going to play lights out because it's their last opportunity of the season. They're going to fight for the seniors that are there. I just don't think they have it figured out personnel-wise right now, and that's not really a good defense. So I think we should dominate this team. I think we should get that run game going again. 1.9 yards per carry last week is not who we are. Giving Dre and Tyshawn 15, 20 carries apiece, hit some big plays. The big plays are there. I really think if we have any path to the playoffs against this defense, we have to smoke this team. I think it's got to be like 42-7 or 42-10. If it's a 1-score game and it's close and we are on the bubble, they're going to look and see we played a 2-9 Murray State team who they barely beat Indiana State. If we're close and this is a one-score game, I don't know if we're teetering on the bubble. We don't want that on our resume.
Cyril.
Yeah, just to start where Kurt left off, it's their senior day and it's their Hall of Fame game. So they're going to want to send these seniors off with a something, other than 2-8. It's been a long season for them. They've lost 6 straight. It's this Murray State team. They're streaky. It's weird. They've put up single-digit points against 4 of the 7 conference opponents they've played. They're averaging under 16 points a game in conference, but that doesn't mean that they can't score. They've put 31 on North Dakota, 30 on Indiana State, which was a close win and their only conference win, and 24 on Missouri State in a close loss. So I think it's one of those things where we just have to impose our will and play our game. If we play down to their level, Penguins might be caught in a game or a situation they don't want to be caught in, like Kurt said. This team's led by their quarterback number 2, DJ Williams. He's completing under 58% of his throws, has 9 picks on the season, but he will run the ball. He's the 3rd leading rusher on this team. His 2 primary targets are number 15, Cole Rusk, and number 18, Taylor Shields. They account for 10 of his 11 touchdowns on the season. Another guy to look for is number 14, Michael Fox. He has similar yardage to the other 2 guys on the season, just no touchdowns. So there's that. This team averages 122 yards per game on the ground. Jawan Northington and Cortez Jones are in the backfield. Cortez Jones is kind of the do-all back. He can rush and receive out of the backfield. That rushing stat doesn't mean anything to me. I think that our Penguins defense can absolutely shut that down, and I expect them to have less than 70 yards rushing on the game. One guy to watch doesn't show up in the receiving or the rushing stats is I don't know how to say this. Quadarius Jennings. He leads the team in all-purpose yards on the season, so he can rush a little bit, he can receive a little bit, but he will return kickoffs. So, and he's got a lot of yards returning kicks, so someone to watch for. That's all I got on those guys.
Moss man.
All right. Well, I don't know anything about Murray State as far as a roster. Kurt and, Kyle touched on that. What I look at is just trying to see, who they're coached by. So Dean Hood's their head coach. He was at Eastern Kentucky for a long time where he won 2 OVC conference titles and he had 3 playoff appearances. After Eastern Kentucky, he did 3 years under Mark Stoops at Kentucky. So we have some Youngstown State ties on that staff with Bafano and Matt Sakis, who were on our staff when we were at YSU. So I'm sure he's really familiar with Youngstown State, as well as their offensive coordinator, who was the Western Ill linebacker coach in 2017. So obviously he knows, about the conference and, probably a lot more about Youngstown State than we would think. Their D coordinator, he was also a GA for 3 years at Kentucky, and he did some time at New Mexico as the linebackers coach. I mean, they're gonna be well coached. Like Kurt said, we got to win big. We can't play a close game. This is a year where I hate the expansion of the Missouri Valley because we need North Dakota State right now. We need a North Dakota State or a North Dakota. No disrespect to Murray State. And I think they'll be successful. I think he'll, recruit, for the Missouri Valley. It's a different beast than the OVC, no disrespect, but I think it's, we know it's the premier conference in the FCS, but we got to win big. And like I said, I wish we had a big final game whether it's North Dakota State or North Dakota, but it's not. So we got to beat Murray State, and we got to beat them pretty big. So
a couple things to touch on, kind of like Mossman was mentioning. Murray State, this is their first year in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. So this is our first time playing them since '87. So even though we're 2-6 all time against them, they didn't play us during the dynasty years, or better known as the '90s, is why they look so dominant against us. It's been a long time. So that's actually why we're skipping the story time segment, because none of us are old enough to experience Murray State story. But it is going to be their senior day. And I remember my own experience at Youngstown State when we had the chance to play for. And I still remember going out there, and it was Illinois State, who I'm thinking of, and we beat the hell out of them. So Murray State has something to play for, and it's to ruin our season because we are a bubble team. So that's not exactly a scouting report, but I just want to throw the rest of those notes out there. Let's move on to keys of the game and some score predictions. I'm going to kick it off, y'all don't mind, because I sort of already did. But my key to the game is getting back to what we know. Just because what happened last week against South Dakota State, where they dominated us and took the time of possession away from us, and that's our thing, and they took our own game plan and beat us at it. Murray State does not have the athletes of South Dakota State. Take our game plan back, do what we do what we know, because we can beat these guys one-on-one. Let's not overthink it. Let's not throw everything in the trash can just because it wasn't good enough to beat South Dakota State. Stick to what we know, time of possession. Let's run and throw the ball balance, right? And take our time and let's beat these guys. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be an ugly game. I don't think we play well on the road, and I think we are very unfamiliar with Murray State. I hear it's kind of a weird atmosphere, that it could be rough if people turn out. I mean, their season's gone, so I don't know if it will be a rowdy atmosphere out there. I have us winning ugly, but a 24-10 win for the Penguins.
Yeah, I think I'm next. Just keys to the game. I think something underrated that we've kind of hit on throughout the year but never really said is I think we just need to get back, and I'll talk offensively, is spreading the ball back around and getting everybody involved. I know that that's easier when we're picking up first downs and hitting those chunk plays that we talk about. So getting both tailbacks involved, spreading it around to 6, 7, 8, 9 receivers. Getting the ball out in space, because I don't think this team's very good on defense. I think there's a lot of holes that we can attack. So I'm due for a big game, and I know that we want to send these seniors out the right way. We are playing for our playoff lives, and I think the seniors are going to go in here and stay aggressive and do everything that they can to show the committee that we do belong. So I'm thinking it's 35-10. But before, Sal, isn't this? Don't they have really good attendance? We talked about early in the year, Murray State's attendance.
Yeah, they do. I think they're top 10.
Okay, all right. So I got 35-10. Us. I think we're due for a big game. Let's hit some explosive plays and get back to what we know how to do, spreading the ball around.
So one key to the game that I have for is, big road game here. Like Sal pointed, we haven't played well on the road. Key to the game is act like you're on a business trip. Handle your business. Go, like you got something to prove. Limit the penalties. Always going to be limiting those pre and post snap penalties is always going to be a key to the game for me. And I want our defensive line to play past the line of scrimmage. I don't want to see anyone get blown 3, 4, 5 yards off the ball. Again, this season, that was a little bit of, once again, not Youngstown State branded football. So play behind the line of scrimmage, attack those guys, get some sacks, pressure the quarterback. Like I said, I expect them to have less than 70 yards rushing in this game. I want to see a big win. I have them winning 41-3.
all right, I think the key of the game for me is winning the line of scrimmage. and not turning the ball over. I think that 1.9 yards a carry last week, it's just, I think we're due for a big week. I think the O&D lines are going to show up in this one. That's a tough one last week. So I really hope we go out and unleash what, all of our anger on Murray State. And then I want to see us, take a couple shots in the play action game. Like Kurt said, I want to see us spread the ball around, but I want to set it up off of the run. So big run game, play action. I think we have some speed at wide out. I think we could score some points this week. My score prediction is 44-13. 44-13. I think we're going to bounce back on offense and really want to challenge the O&D lines to step it up this week and get a big W to close the season. So,
all right, Moss man. You've been very good at this, so I feel confident. Before I turn it over to Searle, we're going to give the YouTube chat. First, I want to give them a shout out, but give you guys more time to get your Murray State picks in. I asked for them pretty late. I see one of them in there already. Maybe there goes another one.
Crumb.
We're going to go through and make our picks on the other games, and we'll circle back to get the YouTube live chats predictions. But first, let's transition. And Searle, over to you.
Yeah, once again, our pick's always going to be brought to you by Leiden Oil Company, my employer. Penguin supporter for generations, has donated a lot of money to the university as a whole, and especially the athletic department, providing you with all your fuel and lubricant needs in Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and beyond. Quality lubricants, competitive pricing with exceptional service. And once again, we just thank the Leiden family for their continued dedication to the Penguin programs, fueling their success.
Thank you, Searle. All right, boys, pick, and let's go as we do in order. Let's do the spreads and make sure you pick who's going to win the game. We'll go Kurt, Searle, and Moss in that order, and we can fly through this as quickly or slowly as you want. First is at North Dakota. North Dakota is a minus 5.5 favorite. I'm going to say Illinois State wins and takes the money line.
I think I'm agree with you, Sal, because we need it, don't we?
Yeah, it's a biased answer.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to give you a realistic answer. North Dakota.
I like Illinois State plus the 5.5. I think Brock's back's been there forever. Little tidbit. I didn't realize Sam Ojuri was the running backs coach. You remember him from North Dakota State?
Wow. Yeah.
He's the fumbled at the
freshman year on the goal line.
I couldn't think of the damn name, but at the Fargo Dome, fumbled to give us the win. Really, right? I mean,
wow.
No one even touched him. Do you remember that?
I remember that.
It just fell out of his hand. Like,
wait, Kurt, didn't you say that Illinois State's starting quarterback's out?
I thought so. Yeah.
And you're still taking Illinois State to beat them?
We need them, dude. And I took them out.
Are you picking them? Are you picking them because you need them, or are you picking them because you think they're going to win?
You want to know? You really want to know?
Yeah, I want to know.
No,
I'm picking everything Sal's picking because I'm not losing to that worm.
Let's go.
Oh, shit. I'm going to have to switch it up then. Indiana State is at Southern Ill, 2 p.m. Southern Ill is a minus 22.5 underdog. I think I'm going to have the Salukis win and cover.
Yep, that's what I had too.
No way. Indiana State covers.
Give me the 22.5. Give me the 22.5. I was actually pretty impressed with the head coach Mallory's resume. I didn't realize he played under Bo Schembechler at Michigan, Rose Bowl champ, and he did have a tie to Craig Bull at Wyoming. So I was kind of impressed there. They've played everyone tough. 22.5 should be a gimme.
Yeah, I think their offense is figuring it out too at the end of the season.
So what do you say, Moss? Indiana State?
Yep, give me the points.
Okay. Youngstown State, as we went through in details, at Murray State, 2 p.m. Youngstown State is favored by 17, and I think that's exactly where I have the spread at is 17. No, I
You
don't.
pushed?
Yeah, no. I picked Murray State.
You got
Wow, what a
14 on
loser.
that. I'm going to have win and cover. Let's go, Penguins. This is the only one I'm picking differently than Sal.
Listen, I got them 41-3, so I definitely got the Penguins.
Dang.
Yeah, I got the Penguins too. We need a big win, so I'm taking them.
Man, you guys are talking quicker than I could write. South Dakota is at Western Illinois, 2 p.m. South Dakota, a minus 29.5 favorite at, God forbid, the biggest hellhole in the conference, as it will be their last game in the conference, Western Illinois. I have South Dakota winning, but I don't have them covering. That's a lot of points to cover on the road outside in the cold, windy Western Ill. I'm going Western Ill with the points.
I'll take Western Hill with the points.
Listen, this Western Ill team has fielded the Blind Sisters of the Poor all freaking season. And Sal has been constantly crapping on South Dakota and saying they're not good. Give me South Dakota to cover.
Wow, great pick. Great pick, Kyle. I'm going to take South Dakota minus the 29.5. WIU quit. I can't believe they're leaving the conference. South Dakota's head coach, Bob Nielsen, he was a WIU head coach from 2013 to 2015. He got him in the playoffs at 7-6 in 2015. I mean, you could win out there. I mean, I know it's the basement of the conference, but he's a guy who did win at WIU, right?
Yeah.
At Western Hill. He played some good Western Hill teams. Their tailback, Nico Watson, tore my labrum.
Yeah, Sal and I were driving through Boone, North Carolina in a blizzard on our way to the ACC championship game, and he's like, "Hey, you want a detour? You want a detour and watch Western Ill play App State?" I'm like,
That's right.
"No, absolutely not."
But yeah, I think they kill him and honestly, send him off the right way. Bob Nielsen to his old team. 30.
Yeah. You mean the Trestle look-alike or want to look like?
Yeah, right.
Missouri State is at South Dakota State, 5 p. Did I skip one? No, I'm sorry. Missouri State at South Dakota State, 3 p.m. South Dakota State is a minus 34 favorite, the exact amount of points they beat us by last weekend. I'm going to go for South Dakota State to win and cover.
34 is so many points.
A lot of points. They did it last week.
Jacks to win and cover.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think this spread is inflated because of our absolute I just had to censor myself there for a second. I think this spread is inflated because of our lack of effort last week. Give me MSU to cover.
Great pick, Kyle Searle. I got Missouri State plus the 34. Ryan Beard, a 34-year-old head coach. He was a defensive coach. He is the son-in-law of Bobby Petrino. He coached under Jim McElwain at Central Michigan, had a short stint at Louisville. I'm giving you guys the tidbits on the head coach. I like him to cover. 34 is a lot of points. Give me the points.
We'll start calling you Lee Corso.
Hey.
Great pick, Kyle Searle. Let me tell you something.
Not so fast.
It's good. North Dakota State is at Northern Iowa. Unidome, 5 p.m. North Dakota State is a minus 6.5 favorite. I'm going to let Kurt Hess take this one first.
I am picking the Bison. What was the points?
6.5.
Minus 6.5, Bison.
I'm going to take the Bison in this one, despite the Unidome being where the Panthers just dominate. But because I'm not completely sold on Sal's theory that the downfall of the Bison is this year. So this one's directly against Sal. Bison to win and cover in the Unidome.
Okay.
Dude,
Because I think they listen to the podcast and they're bullet boarding Sal every week in the Fargo Dome locker room.
I would absolutely love nothing more than to see North Dakota State with 4 conference losses. Give me Northern Iowa at home in the Unidome.
All right. You ready for this pick?
Hit us, Moss.
So we got what is his name? Matt Entz. I think he's the head coach. He was he started at UNI, and so did Chris Kleiman. So Entz is a UNI guy. I think he's got the blueprint for Coach Farley. He's been there 18 years at UNI. Can you believe that? I like the Bison. Give me an alt line -2.5. I think it's going to be a really close one in the Unidome. So I'll take
You
the
can't
alt
give
line
yourself different lines.
the Bison winning by a field goal. All right.
Wait,
By zone.
so you have Northern Iowa on the points.
No, I'm taking NDSU alt line -2.5.
He's making his own line, Sal.
I'm
If I
putting you
have-
down for Northern Iowa.
Give me Northern
You're
Iowa.
a guess,
Boston's
all right?
Vegas odds,
I think
baby.
NDSU wins by a field goal. I think it's going to be a close one.
Uh,
Like Kurt said, listen, like Kurt said, they've had some weird losses, especially last week to Missouri State. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on in Northern Iowa. And they have Kurt, isn't that kid being looked at by NFL teams? Their
Theo
quarterback.
Day.
He's
Yeah,
supposed to
Theo
be-
Day, because he was a
Yeah.
Michigan State recruit. I feel like you have a resume as a big, tall guy with a big arm, and you get props the rest of your time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think NDSU, they're going to be, I mean, they got this one circled. Entz is, going back to UNI. I think they're going to pull it out. So
Hey, this was posted by, what's that page, Kurt? College Football 24/7.
21, yeah.
21/7 or whatever the case may be. Winning in, and that is North Dakota State and Northern Iowa are both in that bracket. So
Dang.
they are playing for a playoff spot. Either one of them wins, and they know they're in.
You're
That is
diving you're diving into my next segment, man. Come on. Well,
Dude, it's relevant to the pick now.
What
Sal.
was your pick, Sal?
I'm with Moss 100%. I think it's going to be a very, very close game. State might win, but if they do, it's going to be like by a field goal or less. Northern Iowa is a different team at home. I'm going Northern Iowa, and they may win. They may upset them, and if they lose, it's not going to be more by a touchdown because they're a different team at home, and we know it. Any more? Let's flip. We almost forgot. Cyril, YouTube Live. Any predictions on the Murray State?
Oh yeah,
game or others?
YouTube Live is absolutely lit tonight. I just wrote these points down somewhere. Yeah. So Gibbs has the Penguins winning 27-13. Crump's got these boys winning 35-14. Y-Town's got them winning 35-17. And South Range Finest, hoping Coach Rock some success in the high school playoffs here, got the boys winning 38-7.
Thank you for that. Let's review the top 25 real quick. Looking at the latest top 25 and the stats top 25, we do remain ranked. We are actually number 25. We have yet to drop out of that ranking. I don't know if we have ever since we entered it. On the coaches poll, we still are getting votes. I don't think after that loss, a lot of voters or statisticians or whatever it may be, AP voters, no one really gave us a lot of slack, even though we gave ourselves a lot of slack. Around the conference, South Dakota State still by number 1 team. South Dakota jumps to number 5, North Dakota State number 9, North Dakota 13, Southern Illinois is 16, and that is a relevant point. We'll talk more about that later. And Northern Iowa, number 22. And as I mentioned, your Youngstown State Penguins are number 25. Now, the part of the show that we've all really been interested about is playoffs, I'm going to go
Playoffs.
down this list of games that I think are key to watch this weekend. And please interrupt me at any time, co-hosts, because I don't want to be just talking to myself for an hour. But as we mentioned on the last show, again, there are 24 spots. If you win your conference, you automatically go. There are 10 conferences that partake in that. Therefore, 10 of the 24 spots are spoken for. Therefore, 14 spots are at large. As the committee explained, the 14 best teams, regardless of geographics or conference or anything, they're going to take the best 14 teams and rank them, vote on them, and those 14 teams are in. Is Youngstown State one of those better 14? Well, there are some key games this weekend to look at to see if we are or aren't. Now, suppose we win this weekend, as we all assume and predicted, it will be a 7-4 record for the Penguins. 3 conference losses and 1 loss to the Ohio State Buckeyes. So that being said, some games that I have highlighted, as Cheryl mentioned, one of them already. North Dakota State is at Northern Iowa. Both of them have the same record as, well, I'm sorry. If Northern Iowa loses, that will be 5 losses. So that will open up a spot for the Penguins, right? Did I say that right? And if North Dakota State loses, they'll have 4 losses. 4 losses. The interesting part will be it'll be 4 FCS losses compared to our 3 FCS losses. However, their athletic directors on the board, are they going to look at that Ohio State as a loss? It'll be interesting. UT Martin and is at Samford. If UT Martin loses, Gardner Webb will get the automatic bid, and UT Martin will get an at-large bid. So in other words, if UT Martin loses, that will open up a slot, or I'm sorry, it'll take a slot away from Youngstown State. Therefore, we are cheering for UT Martin to lock up their auto bid and not take up an at-large bid. Central Arkansas, after a crazy Hail Mary last week, put themselves in a weird position to potentially win the conference. Central Arkansas is at Austin Peay. If Central Arkansas wins, it's the same scenario that Austin Peay could get an at-large bid. That's another spot taken away from the Penguins. Therefore, we need Austin Peay to win that game. Illinois State at North Dakota. Both teams have the same record at 6-4, and I'm going to open it up to this to you guys. Illinois State at North Dakota. Who do we want to win this game and why?
It's got to be Ill State, right?
You would want Ill State to win the game
Because we beat them?
Well, one, because we beat them, and then it presses both teams. It makes Ill State win look better, and it forces North Dakota's record down below ours. So, yeah, that's what you want to happen. It's not an ideal scenario, and I've been saying this for weeks, is I am pissed off that we are sitting here talking about hypotheticals and what we need to happen and what we want to happen, because everything that we want is not in our control. What we have in our control is what we do on Saturday with our guys, and that's why I'm frustrated that we're having this conversation. But let's continue to have it.
I'm with Kyle on that one too. I think we need Illinois State to beat North Dakota, because we have the Illinois State win.
Yep.
So I agree with you on that.
Well, North Dakota only beat Murray State by 14. So if we can go out there, now we didn't play North Dakota, but if you're talking about like losses and 2 teams that we both played, look at how we played Ill State. Maybe the committee tosses out Murray State and they're just like, yeah, they're poop, so it doesn't work. But like if we go out there and blow out Murray State by 28 or 30 points, And then North Dakota played them, I think, at North Dakota to a 14-point game.
Right.
And then maybe they lose to Ill State or it's a close game. Those are your comparables right there that hopefully would give us the nod over them.
One thing that remember, they're going to use the rankings this year as judgment, and Illinois State's not ranked, and North Dakota's number 13. Yes, because of that, that's the only thing that scares me is if North Dakota loses, that makes them 6-5. Does that drop them from 13 out of the rankings? That's a hard fall. I'm hoping, but we're number 25, so I hope that doesn't put Illinois State.
But are you going to put
rankings are a piece of the resume? They're not the whole thing. Patty told us that they are a piece to be considered. They're not the entire thing. We think that we've been disrespected in rankings all year long. We think that Southern Ill's been overrated all year long. So be it. That is what it is. We're going to finish ahead of both of them. And then they're going to go just off of rankings, and we have a loss to Ohio State, and they have 5 losses. I would see us as the pathway to get in there and not be like, oh, well, we've had them ranked top 15 all year, so we got to throw them in there at 6-5.
Yeah, I mean,
that
I can't
to me is bullshit. BS. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no. Call it like you see it. It's our show. We can say what we want.
That's right. This is America.
No, I'm with Kurt on that. Like, if you're gonna say North Dakota's ranked so high and they're sitting at 6-5, and you want to drop them a few spots, and then be like, oh well, their resume is better, but their record's worse. Like, nah, I don't think that they deserve that at-large spot.
All right, and then just 2 more games to keep an eye on is Richmond at William & Mary. William & Mary wins will put both of them at 7-4 and could take an at-large spot away from us. Therefore, we need Richmond to win that game. And then Sacramento State is at UC Davis. UC Davis wins will put both of them at 7-4. And keep in mind that Sacramento State did beat Stanford. Therefore, we do need Sacramento State. So just to review those games real quick, games to knock teams out of at-large bids would be you would need Sacramento State, Richmond, Illinois State, Austin Peay, UT Martin, and are we saying we want North Dakota State?
Yeah.
We need North Dakota State to win. I
don't know about that. I mean, if Northern Iowa beats North Dakota State, the Northern Iowa loss by 3 looks like a better loss, in my opinion. And I don't know how the rest of the country's records are going to fall. And I don't look at it like that because it's like I'm looking at typically like who we played, how we played them, and where they finished. So, I mean, we have if Northern Iowa wins and South Dakota wins, they're both in the playoffs. And so we have 2 losses. Our 3 FCS losses are to 3 FCS playoff teams. And 2 of those losses are by a combined 6 points. So I think if we're going by records, I think that you would want NDSU to win, right? I think, but if you want to play the record game, but I think Northern Iowa needs to win.
I don't want to overanalyze this game, guys, but if Northern Iowa wins and then you have a team like North Dakota State with the pedigree that they have, what's that committee going to say? Do we want a rematch of South Dakota State versus Youngstown State, or do we want a rematch of the Bison versus South Dakota State?
I'm with you, Kurt.
That committee is not going to take us, who hasn't been ranked for 5 weeks. They're going to take the Bison pedigree easily with the chair on the committee, and those Bison people are going to want to see them play South Dakota State again, which might happen.
I was about to say that. I got a sick feeling that a 7-4 North Dakota State is going to get over a 7-4 Youngstown State, regardless if we lost to Ohio State and they didn't. I got a sick feeling they'll put those guys up because of past years.
Well, and I believe we're better than the Bison, but the committee's going to take a look. They're going to take into account of that.
So you guys want North Dakota State to win?
Yes.
to knock
And
Northern
give
Iowa
Northern
out.
Iowa
Yes,
the 5th loss.
out of the picture. 5 losses, get you out.
So would they? I mean, in 2015, Western Ill got in at 7-6. Would they look at Northern Iowa at 6-5 and we're 7-4? They beat us. I'm just,
I don't know. Like, that's the thing. Are they looking at, is it
Possibly.
strictly record? Is it strictly record? It's like, well, you've already have 5 losses versus
I think
this team
so.
who has 4.
I think they're lazy, to be honest with you, Cyril. I think they're lazier than we give them credit for.
Well, here's my problem. They could very well be lazy, and I'm not disagreeing with you at all. My whole beef with everything that this committee has shown over the years is that they hate Youngstown State, period. And we have been out of the playoffs by
Facts.
one game,
Often.
9 out of the last 10
3 years that we played, that we were a part of the team. And what's disgusting is in 2012, that was a nasty Youngstown State football team. We went into Pitt, beat the shit out of Pitt, and we lost every game in October, close games in October. And then you know how we finished that season? We went on a 3-game win streak, and not only did we beat Indiana State, they were the number 5 ranked offense in the country, and they didn't score a touchdown. And that's how we finished our season. And they said, "No, you're out." So honestly, I'm sitting here thinking that the path to the playoffs is a long shot, and I'm hoping that, all this fantasy garbage that we need to happen and parlay bullshit happens for us, because I think that the committee just doesn't want to see Youngstown State in. And fun fact, the times that Youngstown State gets into the playoffs, we've reached the finals 50% of the time. 50% we've reached the finals.
That's crazy.
that is crazy.
Can I have a theory as to why?
Duh.
Because the country's scared of us and we're good.
Because geographically, all year we play in the western part, and when it comes to FCS football, the western part of the country is much stronger than the eastern part. There's not a lot of good teams in the eastern part, especially not anymore. With App State and Marshall and everyone leaving, and James Madison especially. So once we make it to the playoffs, they put us on that side where we don't play anyone, and then we walk back to where we were, where we played our regular season games all year. But to the point of the committee, they're no different than us. We know we cover Missouri Valley Football Conference all year long, just like the North Dakota State Athletic Director watches Missouri Valley. He knows it as well as we do. When that guy has to go vote on CAA teams or Big Sky teams or Southern teams, he's just like us. He's picking up the standings and looking, this team's 8-3, who'd they lose to, and that's all he's doing. He's just comparing standings and who they played.
So,
Yeah, and what have I said all season is we have not been in the standings at all. We say that Southern Ill's been in the standings. They're overrated. And for whatever the case may be, we can't get any love. We can't even – and I'm talking before the South Dakota State loss, right? Like before the South Dakota State loss, we weren't even 25, 24, 23, which is where I rightfully think we belonged, is definitely top 25 in the country. Sure. Now the conversation can change after the South Dakota State game. But we're just not getting any love nationally. And if you're telling me that the guy is looking at a piece of paper and he's looking at a record and he's looking at the rankings, you're making me feel worse about our opportunities here.
This is calling a spade a spade. And I may be wrong. I'm just telling you, if I'm the athletic director of North Dakota State, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, and if he's damn sure voting on his team over our guys, and he doesn't want to see the Penguins.
Well, he can't vote on his own guy, but politics will speak. Those that are allowed to vote on him they know they better shake his hand, because when it comes his time to vote on Montana, they better vote for North Dakota State. You know what I mean?
Oh, so I'm not even
He has
going to
to
say.
he has to walk out of the room when they vote on North Dakota State. But the Montana AD who votes on North Dakota State has to step out. You get what I'm saying? It's very political. Anyway, let's put that behind us. So the playoff selection show is this Sunday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on ESPNU, and that's where you can watch if the Youngstown State Penguins are in or are not, as they are currently a bubble team. So let's just get straight down to it. Are we in? Are we out? And why? Mr. Kyle Searle, kick us off.
I do not think we are in.
you said that. You explained it well.
And my sole reason is not because I don't think this team is good enough. My sole reason is because I do not think this committee has ever showed Youngstown State the respect that it deserves.
Fair. Curdy?
I think we need a lot of variables to go our way. I think that we've kind of performed underwhelmingly in the last few weeks, and I think that the committee kind of looks sometimes at those bubble teams as who are the teams that can get hot. I think we can get hot. I believe that we have the offense to score a lot of points. I think that this weekend is a Hail Mary for us. We have to score a lot of points. We have to have a really impressive win, and we have to have 3 or 4 different games go our way, because just looking at those conference leaders right now who are fighting for conference championships, how many times in FCS football does the conference game go away that it's not supposed to? And very rarely do those first place teams win the first place games. And so if you're looking at the other conferences, you're talking about 1 or 2 spots getting taken that are probably our spots that we need. My heart says, yes, we have a chance. I just don't see it happening. So I have a feeling right now that we are out.
Moss, man, give us some positivity,
what does
man.
Tito think here?
Yo, Tito's ride or die with these boys. He says they're in, but we argue about it at dinner.
Listen, little history lesson at the tailgate last Saturday. I was talking with Jeff Ryan. The 99 team, so they were national runner-ups. They brought everyone back in 2000. They were 8-3 and didn't get into the playoffs. I mean, we've been disrespected for a long time. And
disrespected, Moss.
Yes.
Put some emphasis on it.
It's been bad for a long time. Historically, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's, what Sal says, most, FCS schools now that are playing at a high level or out on the West Coast. I don't know. I don't think, our marquee win is Southern Ill. I mean, Ill State. It's really hard. I don't see us getting in. It sucks, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope they get in, but historically, for whatever reason, they don't like the Penguins. So I'm going to say no.
I got bad news for Searle, Kurt, and Moss, and good news for Penguin Nation. I have a sin, because if you fill out the bracket, almost like you have a blank March Madness and fill in the teams and so on and so forth, the only thing that could keep us out is those key games I mentioned going drastically wrong. For example, Central Arkansas beating Austin Peay. It could happen. UC Davis beating Sacramento State. I mean, all these could happen, that if William and Mary happens to win, things could happen to really not go our way. The only game that I think is out of reach that we need to happen is Illinois State at North Dakota. We all need Illinois State. Like you guys mentioned, their quarterback's out. North Dakota is probably going to win that game. And they're number 13. They're pretty secure. I don't see them falling out, but everyone else, very realistic. Again, I do have a sick feeling that if Northern Iowa wins, North Dakota State will get a bid over us with the same record, and even though we didn't play each other. but everything falls in place. I have the Penguins getting in and hosting the first round of the playoffs, and we'll have to see how we do and what matchup we get. But I think you guys are going to be surprised in a good way. Who said they had insider information? Was that you, Kurt?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of already had the insider information. You
I did?
created the pathway of what I had.
Oh,
So you are. What do you call it? If Moss is Lee Corso, who are you? You Fowler? You Reese Davis? What? You got the goods?
There.
I was usually Corso. I'm the old guy.
Kyle's Herb Street takes Big Ben around his dog.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The
I
golden
love
retriever.
Big Ben is my hero.
Who? Wait. Was that really your insider, Kurt?
Yeah, mostly.
That we need those things to happen?
If we need those things to happen, if they happen, then we got a legit shot. But you and I in the Unidome, I think that's a toss-up, man. It could go either way, and I don't think we have – I think both those teams have the committee's respect more than we do. So
Yeah, no doubt.
can they tie? A tie probably doesn't help us.
So what are we thinking? We're thinking that the Missouri Valley gets 4, right? Do we think that if Northern Iowa beats NDSU and we have the same record as NDSU, do we think that 5 Missouri Valley teams get in?
I'm going
I
to
don't think we
say
have that
that
many people ranked, so
we could get in with North Dakota State, but if they have to pick between the two of us and one of us gets left out.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah, I 100% agree
which
with
three are in? South Dakota State's in.
South Dakota State,
South Dakota. The winner of Northern Iowa and NDSU.
Yes.
Okay.
The winner.
And North
Maybe the
Dakota.
loser.
If
North Dakota, if they lose, a close one.
Salukis?
What is North Dakota's record?
No,
3.
North Dakota's.
and 4, they're 4-3 in the conference.
3 losses.
Dakota State's 7-3, 4-3 in the conference.
If North Dakota wins, there's not a chance we get in, right?
North Dakota?
That's
No,
the game we
because
need.
wait. So, Jason Crum said, "I thought you needed 7 Division I wins to qualify for playoffs. Is it 7 or 6? Is it like a bowl, like FBS bowls? You need 6 to qualify
You
be
do
eligible?
need a certain amount, and Division II wins do not count. That is fact.
Yeah. Is it 6
There's been
to be eligible, or is it 7? Because bowl eligibility is 6 wins.
Ask him who he's
But-
referring to.
There's been 6 and 5 teams that have gotten in. I think it was Western Hill.
Did things change when they jumped from 16 teams to 24?
Yeah, we could have.
You and I
That's
has
why
made
we
it
didn't
as a
get
6
in
and
at
5
11
one
and
year.
12.
You and I has been in at 6 and 5. So,
So crazy.
do you think that they would take a 6 and 5 UNI team over a 7 and 4 YSU team?
No
Which would
way.
win over YSU?
Zero chance.
Northern Iowa has played multiple FBS teams in a season, though. They've played Iowa and like Iowa State or something. I thought that they had played multiple FBS games.
Not this year.
They
Not
played
this year,
they
but in
played
the past,
Weber
they-
State and Iowa State.
State, yeah.
No, I'm just
Dude,
not
they got
this year, but like in the past, I
pooped
thought
on
that
by Weber.
could they have gotten in at 6 and 5 when they played 2 FBS games with 2 FBS losses?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Probably so.
Because then they're doing that for their program, and they only have 3 FCS losses. So maybe it kind of turns into you only have 3 FCS losses. We love where your team's at right now.
Well, let's play 3 MAC schools next year.
Well,
Get some money in our program.
I want
Like I
to
talked
read
about on the last show, the podcast I listened to with Sam Herder, and they had the Montana AD who was the head of the committee. He did mention if you play one FBS school, we understand it. You lose, we discount it. It's okay. You play 2 FBS schools, we just think that your school needs money at this time, and that's just your problem. So he kind of said it in a rude way of saying, if you have 2 losses to get paid more money by FBS schools, then that's not our problem when we look at you in the committee's eyes, which is fair.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not our fault that you go play FBS schools and lose, and suddenly we win and we can't be compared. But anyway, that is the thoughts, and hopefully this time next week we'll be talking about that selection show and getting you ready for some crazy matchup against a team that we have no idea who we're going to play. But let's transition. Moss man, you've been a great co-host so far, and this is my favorite question to ask any YSU Penguin, especially you. I'm looking forward to this. It could be one story, two stories, favorite YSU story, whether it's on the field, off the field. You got the mic. Everyone in the audience is excited to hear this. Go ahead, brother.
Oh man, there's a lot. There's a lot to choose from. I'll keep it within the facility here. I just think, being in Sims' film room, we did it for 4 years. Hearing Sims call guys out. I mean, it was
Made a kid cry once.
making people cry. There was he called that one kid 25 Cent, the transfer from Ole Miss.
Oh, yeah.
The Bears.
Golden Bear.
I mean, he would, if you get blocked and driven off the ball, you're getting thrown out the club. Like it was always, we're hearing one-liners every day. I mean, it was priceless every single day. Another one would be 5'10", 15, Searle getting speared by Frazier. We ran 96, 5'10", 15 the one summer. Coach Pat. And who was
Shout out Coach Pat.
Who was the guy that we had from
Willie Danzer?
No, the other.
The Green Bay Packer.
Yeah.
He played tight end for the Packers.
Yes.
Dude.
He was on the defensive side, right? So we kept
having. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm blanking.
Sal, we ran gas or 5'10", 15s for like 2.5, 3 hours.
Lionel.
What year is this?
It had to have been 10 because Pat was still there.
Yeah, and that was
10 or 11.
Probably my
first season
conditioning experience ever. So that one sticks out. Just the film rooms with Sims, and then who pissed in their shaker cup in the D line room? Thorough and like Sims freak.
Dude, you know exactly who it was. There's only one. No, it wasn't Rockish. It was only one dude wild enough to do that. It was Stephen Meadows.
Yeah. Him stopped the meeting and was like, if any of you motherfuckers ever piss in your shaker cup in my film room again, he's like, the door's right here. Get up, walk, and go to the bathroom and come back in. But he pissed.
Man, hold on real quick, Searle. Remember, we're going on that trip to meet my parents in Charlotte, and we had an extra ticket. And whereas between B. Ross, I wanted to bring Brandon Ross, and Searle said, no, let's bring Steven
We were
Meadows.
supposed to take B. Ross. B. Ross was already planned to go.
Door. So he goes, what about Stephen Meadows? I said, if I introduce my parents to Stephen Meadows, they will yank my ass out of Youngstown State and bring me back.
Holy shit. Oh, man.
Meadows is a dog.
Dude, all right. I got one story. This is probably my all-time favorite film room story with Moss.
Yep.
And the D-line film room was the size of a prison cell, concrete block. It was a makeshift prison cell. It was, I don't know. It was what it was. We were in there for years, hours on hours on hours. And it's, I think it's camp. It's senior camp. All right. So it's like,
he's going to say
it was definitely a 2-a-day. We're going over the second practice film. We're beat. We're exhausted. And Moss and I always had our same seats. So I was front row all the way left to the wall, and Moss was directly behind me up against the wall. And I'm like hearing this clicking noise.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm so pissed off. I'm like, I look back at Moss. I'm like, dude, stop that. And Moss looks at me like all confused, and I keep hearing it. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Oh, sorry. What are you doing? And he's like, dude, it's not me. And I come to find out, like, Sims is like trying to clear his throat. So he's like doing this, like, this clicking thing in his throat where he's not like talking or saying anything, but it's coming, kind of like a bullfrog or something. And then once Moss and I picked up on it, dude, I could not control my laughter, and Moss saw me laughing, and he started laughing, and Moss stops the film, or Sim stops the film, and he's like, what are you two assholes laughing about? And so we look back at him and just broke out in tears crying. I was literally crying in tears. And, like, Sims looked at us, he's like, I can't wait till you two assholes graduate.
You know what? It was, and it's a hard story to explain, but we were crying, and
it was just us two that picked up on it, nobody else.
Yeah. That was oh my god, and it sounds like hilarious, but we were crying, and Sims was. He really had no comeback. He's like, I just can't wait until these two mother effers graduate.
Sounds about
Dude,
right.
Coach Sims played. I mean, we had 4 years. I mean, you look at like Charball and Nate Adams. They had a new tight ends coach damn near every year.
Yeah.
We were really blessed to be able to learn under a guy like Coach Sims, who he learned in the NFL. So, I mean, we learned NFL technique from day one. And, God, he didn't play favorites. He just played the best guy, So, really appreciate him. And,
And he called it like he saw it. And, one thing that I'm thankful for Sims for was, he had no problem telling guys like, look, after a spring ball or after, summer or whatever the case may be, or an exit interview from the season, he had no problem telling guys like, hey, look, I just don't think that you're going to be able to play here. Like, I'll help you get to where you want to go and get you set up in a program that you can play at. And, Sims didn't pull any punches, told it to you straight, coached you hard, coached you fair. And, thankfully he never told me anything like that, because then
Same.
I wouldn't have listened to his ass anyways. I would have stuck around and
Right.
But I love Sims and try and follow where he's at constantly. So hopefully we can get him on the show one day.
You guys definitely did more up downs than any other position group because of Coach Sims.
Also,
remember 6 a.m.s? We would just do rotations, and I swear, shout out Nick Wargo. He would look every time we went around to Sims Station. He would look at Wargo and goes, I don't like the way you're looking. Get him chopped. And it was like half of us weren't even to the station yet, and we saw the 4 guys that were already starting, and it was like 6:17 in the morning, so you just start laughing while you're doing up downs because you're like, there's no reason we're doing these damn up downs right now, but he's just making us do it because he can.
Oh, dude.
Orkert, he loves sending guys to the top of the stadium.
He would just point.
He would say, can you go count and see how many cars are in McDonald's parking lot for me? Check, let me know, and come down. And then they would come down, and sometimes it's like, I don't think that count's good enough. Go back up and give me one more count.
Yeah, and that's like where
games, because
dude, he beat that into us in practice. You jump off sides in practice, you are gonna pay for it.
You're doing a stadium in the middle of practice.
And then if you jump off sides in a game, you're coming out of the game. Like you didn't even have to look to see if your replacement was coming out. Like you just jump off sides, you just beeline for the sideline because your spot was getting, covered.
Let's lock it up.
Yes.
Cyril, over to you, YouTube Live, comments, shout outs, any questions? I know, again, it's really active, so I don't know how you've been able to keep up with it.
So, YouTube Live tonight, definitely DJ Moss fan club over here.
A lot of love for Moss.
Got Cinder Block in the chat. I saw Moss's sister Jenna's in there, Nico. Rock, Frazier popped in, all showing Moss some love. and then our usual suspects here. So once again, everyone just hit that like button, spread the word. We thank you. We have a lot of fun with you guys, and we do the show for you guys, and also BS with ourselves. So we appreciate it.
Hey, can I say one thing, Sal? I do want to say shout out to Coach Rock and Coach Mancuso in South Range. They got a big one against Perry this Friday. I know Ursuline, Coach Reardon, they got a big one against Chardon. He's a YSU alum. And then Tim Tyrell at Hoban, they got Walsh Jesuit. So a lot of Penguins still in the playoffs. Rock had me and Chuck Lingle down on the sidelines in week 2. Really appreciate those guys. Wish them nothing but the best. I hope South Range can make another run.
So. I love that you mentioned that. I heard Rock has been killing it over there. So I appreciate the update on Rock. Curdy, I know we talked about Instagram. Any shout outs or anything more on Instagram to share?
Yeah, I don't think we got anything on Instagram. Just wanted to give another shout out to Deej here, man. I know we've talked about it early in the year. Anytime we can get a Youngstown born and bred guy on the show, man, you guys showed us how to do it. You know, Kyle's not quite from Youngstown. He's up Northeast Ohio, but like being from Dayton, Ohio, and Sal being from Tampa, it's good people in Youngstown. You guys built a fantastic community, and you know, believe it or not, you guys are the type of guys that like show us what Youngstown's all about. So we kind of like learned that and built that from you guys. So I appreciate you coming on, man, and love having a Youngstown native on the show. It's awesome, man. You're always welcome back. You're our next big hit, man. Let's go.
I told Cyril I'll always be your change of pace back. You need a little you need to fill in.
You're our Jaleel McLaughlin, baby.
He was 9th grade freshman football coach. We were Federal League champs. And I played for his brother Neil sophomore year at Fitch, and his dad was my O-line coach, Papa Kopp, legends. And then his brother Brian, who's an attorney
in Tampa.
In Tampa, yeah, you can't leave out Tampa.
Tampa, Virginia Tech, whatever.
Another great family. I mean, you know, so shout out to the Kopp family.
I'm glad you legitimize that, because every time your name comes up, Dan says, I coach Moss.
Yep.
I appreciate that, and that goes for everyone listening. We always love to have co-hosts on the show to do exactly what Moss did. Please message Kurt at Whitetown Penguin Podcast on Instagram if you'd like to be on the show. But Moss, again, thank you. You've been a great host. Do you have any last words before we sign off?
You know, I would just say if these seniors enjoy this last week, man, it's a fun ride. You're going to have these friendships for the rest of your life. Like, it's so cool coming back and catching up with Kurt and Kyle and you, Sal. You're going to have these friendships forever. And then even connections like in business down the road, you know, Kyle, I'm trying to get him some business from some of my guys and vice versa. So, you know, it comes full circle, and then guys like Matt Hogg, and we're trying to get the alumni group together. So the Penguin family's strong, you know, reach out to us. Hey, maybe we can get you guys on the podcast, or we can make, you know, do some business down the road. So it's just really cool. I think you guys are doing a great job. Sal sent me like the podcast schedule notes. Like, you guys are, Sal, it's awesome. You guys are doing a great thing here. And I think it's great for Penguin Nation. So anything I could do moving forward to help you guys, you know, out. And I think Matt Hogg would be a great guy to have on. Jeff Ryan, you guys got to get Coach Tressel on. There's tons of people, but
hey, we've been talking about Tressel since the dawn of the show. Okay, like, we know we got to get Tressel on. We're trying.
Talking about getting them on, and it's like, Dan, when?
right.
Yeah. But that was awesome. Thank you, DJ. Let's shut her down. Thank you again for tuning in, especially on the YouTube live stream. It was definitely full and lively tonight. But again, Youngstown State is at Murray State this Saturday, 2 p.m., followed by Sunday is the selection show for the playoffs, 12:30 on ESPNU. You do not want to miss that, unless, of course, we happen to lose, and you probably can't afford to miss that. Otherwise, tune in at 2 p.m. Saturday and again at 12:30 on Sunday. Again, we are on Instagram, Whitetown Penguin Podcast, and we are the Youngstown Penguin Football Podcast, available anywhere you can get your podcast. But again, I am your co-host, Sal Guardo. With me, as always, that's Kyle Searle, that's Kurt Hess, and that is our guest co-host, DJ Moz. Thank you for tuning in, and once again, go Penguins.
Go Gwen.